Sworn in come January, control of the government will once again be split between Republicans and Democrats. Does Wall Street prefer gridlock or corporate welfare? This current Congress handed out billions to Wall Street. So is divided government really good news for business in America? To our Freedom Fighters panel, Wall Street Journal columnist Virginia Postrel, radio talk show host Leslie Marshall, and my friend and Fox Business colleague, Fox Business Network senior correspondent. You have the longest title in the business.
And my tie is crooked.
Charlie Gasparino.
On top
Charlie,
of it all, you know?
All right, to you first, because you just wrote what is soon to be a bestseller about this, the relationship between President Obama and Wall Street. Question, does Wall Street like divided government, or would they rather one government running the show?
They like divided government because they like the fact that, you know, they can basically one party plays off each other, and both are vying for their campaign contributions. But I wrote a story, actually an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal about this the other day, where what's different about this divided government, what scares Wall Street, is that this divided government, the activist wing of the Republican Party now are the Tea Partiers, and they despise the perks, the crony capitalism that the big banks have gotten, both from the Democrats and in the past the Republicans.
It's interesting that Charlie calls the Tea Party the activist wing, because to me, and I suspect to you, Virginia, they are the stop the government, get out of my face, shrink the government wing.
Well, they are the activists in the sense of being active, being energetic, and that's where the momentum seems to be. But they're not the only wing, and a lot of what's going on is wanting a return to the status quo ante. That is to, but is important about the Tea Parties. These started with the bailouts. It was not an anti-Obama.
And I know you're going to remind me, Leslie Marshall, that the first of those bailouts was proposed by Hank Paulson and George W. Bush. But to get over that political jab that you were about to throw at us, you know I'm no defender of President Bush. Is divided government, however it's divided, really that bad? I mean, haven't we prospered politically and economically at times when the government has been divided? Stated differently, are you really upset that the House switched from the Democrats to the Republicans?
Of course I'm upset. I like to win, Judge. I like to win. But at the end of the day, I'm also upset because there's a lot of division here, and it's not just between Democrats and Republicans, but between the GOP Republicans and the GOP Tea Party people, who I've always maintained should have a T next to their name, because you're right, originally they started as a nonpartisan, stop the government organization. So I think there's going to be a lot of splintering. Wall Street obviously is hoping and looking forward to having more Bush tax cuts, an extension of that. But I do think it can be very dangerous, because if somebody's trying to repeal the 14th Amendment,
we're going to take a break, and we'll pick up on that. You know my view. In my opinion, having a government that is divided between the two parties helps, because it can prevent either party from enacting its most extreme ideas. But we have to keep in mind, we really don't have two political parties. We have one political party in this country. They pretend to be two, but they really just keep enacting laws at the end of the day that effectively keep themselves in power. All right, guys, it's easy for the Tea Party to say it wants to cut the size of government, but will these new lawmakers be able to do that when they get there? Can they trim Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment insurance, even the military? The Freedom Fighters are back to tackle that one next. Even a Tea Party-influenced Republican Party is going to bump up against some tricky math trying to cut the budget. Politicians are terrified of making cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and the military. Those items alone make up more than 60% of the national budget. So what's left to cut if we don't have the courage to get them under control? Back with our Freedom Fighters. Virginia, what should the government cut? If you could cast a single vote for all the Republicans in the House of Representatives, what would you cut? Would you cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and the Defense Department?
Well, I think if you're going to be serious about cutting the budget, you have to look at those things. But the thing about the Tea Parties is the Tea Parties are really about people waking up one day and saying, hey, wait a minute, we thought we had agreed
Right.
markets were good. We thought we had this consensus, this sort of, you know, Bill Clinton
Or I'm
president,
sensing
Newt
from
Gingrich.
you think the Tea Parties will be co-opted by big government Republicans
No.
and the allure of Washington?
That's not what I said. I don't think the Tea Parties were ever about cutting back on entitlements. I think
Okay.
they were about cutting
Oh, I
back
think
on
they
the
were.
expansion
Oh, I think they were.
that started
All right, you
with
use
the bailout.
What do you
I
think,
think that,
Charlie?
listen, I don't know every Tea Party person.
Well,
but
yeah, you can't generalize.
You can't generalize because there's
Right.
a lot of different viewpoints. Some of them want to get rid of the Fed.
Right.
Some of them don't, I've been told.
Right.
Yeah, right? I'm not saying I do or I don't. I believe in more transparency. But I will say this, Judge, and this is even more important than cutting. I'm all for cutting, but we need to get this economy growing again, growing in a fiscally conservative way where we basically take the shackles off of entrepreneurs and business, which this administration has put on.
What do the Democrats want to cut, Leslie Marshall? Are they willing to take the shackles off of small business?
Well, first of all, I don't feel small business is shackled, and I do know every Tea Party member personally, so I, as a talk show host, certainly can generalize. And none of them want to give their Medicare or their Social Security benefits back. I always find that odd. You know, I have to tell you that I believe that the Democrats want to work with the Republicans. And I think what's going to be scary here, Judge, is how correct you are with both sides wanting to keep their jobs, how much the Tea Party is correct.
I want to say the president from yesterday, because Leslie made a very interesting argument about the Democrats wanting to work with the Republicans. Here's what the president said yesterday. Here's his idea of a compromise when he talks about unemployment insurance coming from the feds.
I think it makes sense for us to extend unemployment insurance because there's still a lot of folks out there hurting. So there's some things that we can do right now that will help sustain the recovery and advance it.
It just shows you how.
It's 99 weeks already. He wants to
I
extend
mean,
it?
listen, it's such a non-issue. It just shows you how out of touch he is with the economy. The economy right now, listen, okay, suppose you give it to him. That's nice. But that's not going to help the economy get back. What's going to help the economy get back, and it's interesting, your guest, I forget her name, but
Leslie Marshall.
Leslie, it's always someone who doesn't run a small business saying the small businessmen are not shackled by this. But I mean, here's the thing. How many do you employ, by the way?
By the way,
I'm just saying this. What that shows is the president has no clue about running this economy, because what's causing the economy, causing jobs not to come back from employers not to hire, it's because he's going to raise taxes.
What would happen if unemployment insurance were extended? Forget about the debt. Is that going to stimulate the economy?
It won't stimulate.
Marginally.
It won't stimulate the economy. It will. But here's the thing: there are two. I think the two test cases, simple things. We're not talking cutting Social Security. One, which the president mentioned, are you going to get rid of this law that says that I, Virginia Postrel, because I am a self-employed freelance writer,
Right, you got to tell the IRS whenever you write a check for more than $600.
American Airlines and Amazon and everybody I spend money for. And two is the ban on incandescent light bulbs, which goes into effect. That was passed during the Bush administration. Well, the Republicans.
Leslie, we only have about 30 seconds. Why would the president offer as an olive branch, as a compromise, the day after he got shellacked, his word, extending unemployment insurance?
I don't consider that the olive branch. I consider that one piece in a soundbite in his talk, Judge, and I own 2 small businesses.
Good.
So I speak not only as a talk show host, but as a small business owner. What do you want these people to do, starve and lose their homes? Oh, that's a great idea.
Got it. Gasparino, Marshall, Postrel, it's a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. We'd love to have you back. Continue this debate online. This